Girls, you've already spent some time reading, and we've spent the last few weeks looking at different poems. Today you're going to take a little bit more ownership of the analysis of the poem. So I'm going to read it to you, and I would like you please to read along with me. The poem is called The Trees by Phillip Larkin. The trees are coming into leaf, like something almost being said. The recent buds relax and spread their greenness as a kind of grief. Is it that they are born again, and we grow old? No, they die too. Their yearly trick of looking new is written down in rings of grain. Yet still the unresting castles thresh in full-grown thickness every May. Last year is dead, they seem to say. Begin afresh, afresh, afresh. So the poem has 3 4-line stanzas. They have a rhyming scheme, and if you were to use letters at the end of each, you would say leaf, said, spread, grief. Could be a rhyming scheme of A, B, B, A. And that sets a rhythm. The same thing happens in stanza 2. Is it that they're born again and we grow old? No, they die too. Their yearly trick of looking new is written down in rings of grain. So again and grain rhyme, and then to and new rhyme. And the same thing happens in the 3rd stanza. So what you're going to do is you're going to annotate the poem. You're going to highlight and identify the poetic devices, but I want you also to put a dot point as to what effect you think the author is trying to create and whether you think it's effective. You're going to identify the adjectives and verbs. Underline any unfamiliar words. Number the lines on each stanza on the left-hand side, so when you refer to a line, you can actually identify which line in the poem it is. So in line 3 of stanza 1, the buds relax and spread. You can discuss it, and you're identifying where you are so your reader can go to that part. You're going to circle punctuation marks because they have been used in a particular way too. And then think about spring. How do you feel in spring? What do you see in spring? What do you feel? What are the colours of spring? What happens to the light, to the temperature? Look at the theme. The theme is what the topic of each stanza is about. So think about each theme and think about the tone and the mood that's created. So, using the onion strategy to unlock the inferred meaning of the poem, you're going to look at the first layer, which is to look at the literal meaning. Highlight the words and phrases which actually relate to the trees, because that is the subject of the poem. What situation does the poem describe? What is the subject matter of the poem? Layer 2 is the inferential meaning, things we can think, infer. What different things do you need to understand about nature and the seasons to understand the poem? What assumptions are being made? Who are the characters and what do you understand about them? Now the hint there is that they're not people, which implies that there is another poetic technique at work here. What is it? How is it used? What effect is gained? Highlight the following statements that best describe the mood, the emotion of the poem. You might need to look up some of the words in a dictionary, or you can negotiate them between you. A. The mood of this poem is sombre and solemn. B. The mood of this poem is one of warmth and nostalgia. C. The mood of this poem is joyful and jubilant. D. The mood of this poem is eerie and mysterious. And E. The mood of the poem is powerful and optimistic. And then you have layer 3, which is the evaluation. List the most obvious to the least obvious poetic devices you've identified and write a sentence describing the inferred meaning of those sentences, those techniques. What are they trying to say? What's the least obvious poetic device? Has it been used with subtlety, or has it been used in a way that it doesn't really seem to contribute? I find that a bit hard to believe because poets are rather economical but very deliberate. And then you're going to write your practice paragraph. So you identify the subject matter of the poem and you finish the following sentences. So you're identifying the poetic devices, you're using evidence, you're going to explain the effect on the reader, making sure to link back to the subject matter of the poem. You're going to identify the poetic devices for the next line. And once that's complete, you're going to evaluate the effect of the poem in total. When this is done, write your own poem about spring. You don't have to use that formula, that rhyming scheme. It doesn't have to rhyme. But do take time